We learned about the if-else statements in the previous lecture. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about another type of conditional statement, which is if-else-if. Now, for if-else, we use it when we have two possible outcomes. Either something will happen or something else. So there's only two possibilities. For example, passing and failing. If you don't pass, you fail. If you fail, you didn't pass. Now, what about if we have more than two outcomes? We have three or more. Then you cannot use if-else. You have to use another type. So one of them is if-else-if. So let's have an example. So let's say we're going to prompt the user to enter a number, and then we're going to decide if that number is positive, negative, or zero, because there are three possibilities. So let's prompt the user to enter a number. Enter a number. Now we're going to start with the if. If the number, okay, first we have to save it. So we're going to save that number now. Input that next id. I'm going to use the if statement, always use the parentheses. And then we're going to put the condition. If num is higher than 0. That's one possibility. So as I said in the previous lecture, it's very important that you put the curly brackets. They are not required, but it may cause some problems if you don't use them. So if you don't use the curly brackets, only one statement, one line is part of the if. If you have more than one, then the second one is not part of the if. So it may create some confusion. But if you put the brackets, everything inside the brackets is part of the if. So make it a habit to use brackets even if you have one statement. So if num is higher than 0, so you can say, for example, num, the statement here, is a positive number. Now there are two more outcomes, so we're going to put else f. But if the number is less than 0. So when you put else f, there are two statements here. Else means it's not higher than 0. But if it's not higher than 0, there are two possibilities. It may be negative, it may be 0. So we're going to talk about the second one. If it is less than 0, then we're going to put num is a negative number. Now, the third one, which is the last one, we just put else. So you don't have to put else f because that's the only thing or the only possibility left. So we're going to put here system out num is 0. Okay, so let's build the program and see. So enter a number. So let's enter a positive number. Let's say 8. So 8, the first condition is true. So this statement will take place and then the others will be ignored. So run the program. It's going to say is a positive number. Now let's run the program and then enter a negative number. So let's say negative 6. Now the first condition is false. So Java will move on to the next one. Is it less than 0? Yes. So the statement will take place and everything else will be ignored. So this negative 6 is a negative number. Now run the program and see the third situation. What about if I enter 0? So is it higher than 0? No. Is it less than 0? No. So what is left? The else. So now hit the enter key. 0 is 0. Okay. So that's how we use else f. One more time, be very careful. Don't put the semicolon after f or after else f or after else. Okay, so very common mistake. So let's have another example just to make sure that you understood the else f. So let's say we want to prompt the user to enter the grade, and then based on the grade, we will determine or decide whether the student will get A, B, C, or F. Okay, so let's delete this and then enter a grade. Enter your grade, we're gonna save it. Is input that next int. Put a condition F. So let's start with so here you have the choice. You can either start from the top, that means A, and then keep going down, B, C, F, or you can start from the bottom. So let's start from the top. So the first situation, if it is higher or equal than 90. So if the student gets any number, any grade higher or equal than 90, he will get A. Of course, we are assuming here that there is no grade higher than 100. Okay, so we're going to put statements here. As I said, make sure you use the brackets or make it a habit to use the brackets. So we're going to put, okay, let's say you got A. Okay. Now we're going to use the second situation. What is the second situation? Is B. Now for the student to get B, his grade or her grade has to be between 80 and 90. Between, not less than 90. Because if we say else, that means anything less than 90. It could be 80, 70, 60, 40, 30. Now we're going to put here one more time, else F. So what does else F mean? So there are two statements here. Else means it's less than 90. But we want to restrict it to B, so we're going to add another condition, which is higher than 80. So else F, else means less than 90, and then we add another condition, higher than 80. That means less than 90 and higher than 80. Okay, so we're going to put here system out print line, you got B. And then we're going to continue with the same thing, okay? We have two more options. We have two more possibilities, which is C and F. So one more time, I'm going to put else. Else means less than 80, because else means the opposite of what we have, less than 80. But less than 80, it could be 70, 60, 50. So we need to make sure we add another condition, which is grade is higher or equal than 70 for the student to get C. So I'm going to put here system out print line, you got C. Now, if the student did not get A, B, or C, the only option is he will get F. That means he will fail. So here there's no point in putting else F. Just put else. That means whatever comes after, if it's not A, B, or C, it is automatically F. So I'm going to put here system out print line, you got F. Okay. So this is how the else F. So you start with the first condition, and then you put else F, the second situation, and then else F, the third outcome, and then finally the last outcome. So let's run the program and see if this works. So enter grade. So let's start with the first one. Let's say 95. So here Java will check the condition. If this condition is true, this statement will take place and everything else will be ignored. Okay, so let's hit the enter key. You got A, and then the computer stops right here. Now let's run the program and see what about if we got something between 80 and 90. Let's say 84. Now the Java will check, is the grade higher or equal than 90? No, so it's going to skip it to else F. Okay, else means less than 90. And then we add another condition, grade is higher or equal than 80. Yes, because 84 is between the two. So you're going to get B. See? Now what about a grade that's between 70 and 80? So let's say 76. So is grade higher or equal than 90? No. Is it higher or equal than 80? No. Else F, that means less than 80 and higher than 70? Yes. So you're going to get C. Now the last situation, if you get, let's say, 50. So is the grade higher or equal than 90? No, so it's going to be skipped. And then else F, that means less than 90 and higher than 80? No. Is it less than 80, higher than 70? No. So what is left? Else, that means you got F. So this is another type when you have more than two outcomes, like 3 or more, we use else F. Okay, so thank you for watching and see you in the next lecture.